as a mom, I am failing in that way 100%. Men escape whenever they choose to escape. The wife is, primarily responsible for the rest. And so I decided this week I was going to do that. Life is chaotic, so we're going to start first by laughing here in this podcast. And then we'll get into some other stuff.
Sounds good.
Be a little bit of a variety this time. How about it?
Yeah, sounds good to me. Welcome back.
Welcome back. You're first with your first agree or disagree statement.
Okay, sounds good.
You were excited for this one.
I am. I think it's a pretty good one, honestly. I think a lot of people will probably relate to this one.
All right, let's hear it.
I bet they most agree with me, probably.
Okay.
I know my buddy will. Bluey is more for adults than kids.
Agree.
Yeah?
Neutral. I feel like it's for both.
It is for
equally
both.
weighted.
It is for both, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that they put in there is so much relates to adults.
For
Kids
sure.
won't catch it. I mean, it's like those shows a long time ago that you watch that you catch, the adult themes later on as you grow. But I feel
adult
like
themes.
Yeah, I mean,
I know
Christmas Vacation, those type of things. Like,
yeah,
I guarantee you that go back and watch Bluey if you haven't really done it. I mean, it's a good show to put, in the background while the kids will watch it. They'll love it.
Let's be perfectly honest. We watch new episodes as a family.
That's my point.
Yeah.
But that's my point.
It's not background. Like we sit down like it's a premiere.
Well, I know, but there may be others that, they may put it on in the background. But just if they haven't really focused on the plot throughout each of the episodes, I definitely recommend doing it because it's really, really good. I mean, funny enough, I had a good talk with my buddy about this, Zach, and it's
what?
Zach about the
Recently?
adult stuff. No, that was a long time ago. But I mean, it's the truth that they just give good, I think, adult themes in there too.
There's also some episodes that didn't make it into the Disney app. So if y'all didn't know, there are some that you can find here on YouTube if you're watching us. And I think there's like a Bluey official channel or something like that.
Yeah, there is.
But my all-time favorite episode, I don't think it's on Disney right now. It may be now, but it definitely wasn't when I discovered it. But it's called Dad Baby. So if you haven't seen it on Disney, or if it's not on Disney, go look on YouTube. It's hilarious. That is by far the best one they've done.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, Disney, at least at the time, didn't want it on there.
Yep.
That one's pretty funny. And I think they've also cut out like a lot of potty humor that is apparently, because you can find slightly different version of some of the episodes on YouTube. There's a lot more potty humor, like the unicorns like pooping or something funny, and I guess like America's like nah, I don't know, it's silly, but Dad Baby is the best one.
Yeah, it's really good. I don't know, some of that stuff doesn't make sense why it wouldn't be put on there, but hey, it is what it is.
I don't know, but that one was universally hilarious, so I don't really know. Remember, what I'm talking about? What I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh yeah, but it's really good. I don't know. That's kind of my point. I feel like that show is almost catered more towards adults. There's
definitely some bits
of
it
than
for
kids.
sure.
I mean, obviously kids, love it, but I do too. So
well, mine is very different than yours. But are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
The left lane is for passing. I am passing continuously, therefore I live in it while I drive.
You do.
Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, you do.
No, agree or disagree that that's okay to do.
No. The left lane is for passing.
I'm always passing.
It is.
There's always someone in the middle lane.
It is for people that pass.
But I'm chronically passing.
No, you're not. There's people passing you on the right. There's no you passing anybody.
No.
Unless you've got a 85-year-old grandma in the right-hand lane.
Yeah. If I'm in the left lane, unless it's the zombie apocalypse, there's always someone in the middle. Always. They might be a ways away, but they're there, and I'm passing them.
You're not passing them.
The whole time. Yes, I am.
No.
All the way to my destination.
Drives me nuts.
Why?
It just does.
Why?
Because
no, I mean, if there's a car that like flies up, and they're going, fast or whatever, then I'll get over and then get back in it.
Yeah, but why? I just don't get that.
I like it. It's faster.
There's not many people in front of me. You're slowing other people down.
I don't. I just told you I move over for the faster people.
You don't all the time.
I do, as long as I can. Sometimes there's someone in the middle lane and I can't move over. And that's not my problem.
Then you slow down, get behind
them. Or
them,
the person that's behind me go the speed limit. I'm going 75, therefore they should not be going 87.
No, that's not your job to control the other people's
I'm not doing
speed.
it to control their speed. I'm
Well,
just
you are.
No, I'm not.
Essentially.
Oh, ew. No, that'd be gross. I'm not that. I'm just saying if
But
they're so bothered by it, they shouldn't be speeding.
Yeah, but if you sit in the left lane at 75, you are controlling everybody else that's
I don't
coming in the
sit
left
in
lane.
it when they're behind me.
If somebody's in the middle, you are. And
But
you
I
don't
do
have a choice.
no, actually what I do, you know I do this. I speed up temporarily, get over if there's someone like in my way in the middle lane, let the people that are speeding go by, and then I get back in the left lane to pass more.
No, I don't. Sometimes not. Like, it just depends.
The left lane is for passing. It's okay to ride it. You're always passing someone.
That's not true.
Unless you're going under the speed limit, and then you're not allowed to be in there.
Yeah.
But if you're going the speed limit, yeah, you're passing someone. Always.
I'm not trying to change the subject on it. It relates to it, but it drives me nuts when truckers stay in the left-hand lane.
Well, I mean, that's...
When they're like all three, if it's
you
three
also
lane,
think they should have their whole own interstate too, so like...
I should. I'll be honest. I have an opinion on that.
I know,
don't
and it's probably best that we don't
Fair enough.
talk about it.
Fair enough.
Because all your things come via truck.
I know they are.
To be clear, we appreciate them very, very much.
Yeah, they're needed. It's not the thing about appreciation. It's just that when there is 3 lanes, all I'm saying is there's 3 lanes, and when they're in each one of them at the same speed, it drives me up.
You know what you should do? Get a CB radio. Start talking to him.
Oh yeah, that's
tell him to get out of the way.
Idea. That's a great idea.
Are you being sarcastic?
Yeah.
Why is it bad?
Because
get CB radio. Just
I don't care to talk to people.
No, you're not talking to him. You're just like, hey, dude in the Walmart truck, move. Love, Ford Expedition, coming up behind you.
Yeah, and then he'll slam on his brakes and make it worse.
It's all right. It's a risk you take.
That's all. I mean, that's all it is. But yeah, if in my like perfect world, you want to fix a lot of these traffic things, like
it's not trucks.
I feel like though, if trucks had their own like navigation, like
you know what should have its own?
What?
School buses.
Oh well, we've already talked about.
I know, and they should have their own like road, so they can be as safe as they want to be.
Well, that's what I feel about trucks. If they want to go as fast or slow as they want to be, they have their own. But I know it's not infrastructure. We can't do it.
Impossible.
I just mean it would help. It would help a lot with It would just help a lot with traffic.
Okay, but there are plenty of interstates, especially here, that have lanes that trucks are not allowed to be in.
They're not supposed to be if they get in anyways.
They don't get in the HOV lanes or the express lanes. They
do
not
those.
I've never seen them in those.
But I just mean there's sometimes where
I like me a good express lane.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
Yeah, that whole bill was a surprise.
Uh-huh.
Okay, in my defense, we were driving from Charlotte to Alabama, so we were going through Atlanta. That interstate very much did used to be just an HOV lane that didn't cost money. I just didn't read the signs and assumed it was the same. And I was in the HOV lane. Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've driven through Atlanta like a lot, and it's always been an HOV lane, so I had no reason to think it had changed. They should have sent out a mailer.
Except if you read
it should have been on the news.
Except if you read the sign, yeah.
Well, I mean, I saw that it said something about like the something highway people, but like I don't know what that means.
So let's just stay in it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I know you did.
I didn't mean to. I mean, I meant to, but I didn't realize it was expensive.
50 feet and it goes into a lake. There goes Rachel right into it. Yeah.
No, although I did have a GPS one time that did tell me to take a right turn, and it was a lake. Like we were at the beach. I was in high school.
You went into it?
Probably. No. I was like, there's no way this is real. It was like a swamp at the beach. You know those like back roads if you're going, like if you're in Orange Beach and you're going to, what's it called? Cobalt. You know those like twisty roads kind of through the swamps or whatever? It was in there. And it was like, turn right. And I was like, into the swamp? No. There was no right turn coming up. It was really strange. But that was like a TomTom or something. Like that was
back in the day before they came on cell phones and all that stuff.
Back in the day before they came on cell phones.
Yeah.
That's how you just said it.
Okay.
On that note, since life is chaotic and since we're telling, are we telling stories? I guess we kind of are at this point. So we'll tell another one. Just a quick life update. First, we posted last week about our daughter's hearing loss that was discovered and the difficulties there with her cognitive function. And so we are moving full-fledged forward with UNC will be going up there soon, very soon. Super excited about her having the opportunity to be a patient. It's a big blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be able to fight for her with Medicaid and whatnot. And then she'll have an MRI, CT scan. I'll be honest with you, like, I know you probably are, but I'm getting really sick of anesthesia with her. Like, it's a lot. She's had a lot of anesthesia recently.
Mm-hmm.
Are you also sick of it, or are you just kind of like, it doesn't bother you?
It doesn't bother me. I just want to figure out like what the plan is. You know, like I feel like a lot of this is just like testing for
they have
different
to.
things, and I know they have to. I know it's required. I just know it doesn't bother me because it's being done because we're trying to get to a goal, and
I just meant like the
that's all.
anesthesia as far as like the risk is concerned, because
See, I don't think about that. I don't know enough about it. So you know more about that stuff than I do. I don't think about those type of risk things because to me, it's just the risk is what it is. Like the only comparison I can give you is when I had my carotid web surgery. You know what they gave me a 5% chance that thing
5% chance of having another stroke.
Right. So it's like risk is risk. Like it's gonna happen, and
the more you're exposed to something that is risky, the higher your chances, right? Is that true?
Of course, every single time.
I don't know if that's actually true.
I don't know. I assume it is. I mean,
I didn't take statistics in high school, but
I don't know. I just assume the more that you do have to do that stuff. Yeah, the more you do have to do that stuff, the more risk comes to it. But
I'm sick of it.
Well, I get it, but I don't try to focus on that just because honestly,
I mean, I don't focus on it. I just, it's always stressful, and as a parent of a child that's medically complex, like, a lot of us probably face anesthesia relatively often, and it gets old after a while having to sit in a waiting room and be anxious, especially when you have a history that's as long as hers, and nearly losing her a couple times. Like, every time they take her back, it's like, it's a little scary.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not old and it's not scary and all that stuff, but I think a lot of that helps with knowing that you've got a medical team that you can trust and is good. So I think that takes a lot of weight off of it. I trust them as much as I can until I can't.
Yeah.
So
that's fair. The other thing we were going to update you on, first and foremost, I wanted to plug, they didn't ask me to do this and have no idea I'm going to, but I had never heard of this organization. It was started by Jen Hamilton, who is very well known on social media, beloved labor and delivery nurse that puts out a lot of content across a lot of platforms. And she founded this nonprofit organization called Hot Mess Express. And the whole goal or purpose of it is it's women helping other women who have been through medical things, that the categories are broad. There's no like requirement list, but they basically, come in and help you reset your home with what your needs are. And so when I saw that Jen Hamilton had posted about Hot Mess Express, that was something that I was like, wow, I really need that. And you can nominate yourself. And I felt kind of silly nominating myself, but I did. And they reached out, and it was, I am just, we're humbled by the opportunity to have the help. And I may have teared up when they were here, like doing, the assessment and what are your goals and whatnot. Huge blessing. If you don't know of Hot Mess Express, go follow them. I'll put their social, I know of their TikTok. I'm not sure about their other socials, but I'll put it in the description. If you have a friend, nominate them. But I am really looking forward to the day where I can volunteer with them. And even if that means I can only participate in a couple of missions here and there, and that's what they call it, like missions or whatever. So we're their March mission. Or if I can volunteer at a national level, like doing administration, I don't know, whatever. I would love to do that. I think it's an amazing idea. Because you can have people gift you cleaning, like cleaning your home or whatever. And that's great. That's helpful. That, we've had that before, but there's a big difference between we're going to come put things away where they go and organize for you if you need it, And do you need organizing bins versus we're going to mop and dust and all those things. Hot Mess Express can do all of it.
Yeah.
Just depending on how much availability they have, depending on the volunteers, the size of the job. Like, I'm not saying they would do that in every single situation. I'm just saying that's like what they are able to do from a broad perspective. And they come assess your home and your needs and your priorities, and then how big of a team they can assemble, and they take it from there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I am really, really honored to be a recipient of it. And yeah, just wanted to plug it because I had no idea. I wouldn't have known if I hadn't seen Jen post it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our life update there. We're going to move into story time.
Okay.
I'm going to tell a story. Okay. And I think that this story is going to resonate with all or most parents of children with special needs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the story I'm about to tell?
I don't know. Maybe.
You weren't there. I didn't know if you saw it in our like episode notes or whatever, but so our middle son had he had volunteered to participate in chapel at school, and parents were invited to attend to watch. And so, I wanted to go and to watch him. I didn't have anybody available that was able to watch Mila. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to bring her all the things. I'm going to bring her some crayons, and I'm going to bring her some Cheerios and her little Elmo backpack. And I think I brought like her Bluey toys. Like, I brought like all the things, like a little coloring pad thing. And I told her that we were going to go see Bubba at school. And that was a mistake I made, I think, because, and my other plan was, okay, we're going to walk into the church. We're going to go up to the balcony where we'll be isolated from people, but I'll be able to watch. And then my plan was that she could kind of just run and like do her thing. Well, she saw him from the stage. She realized it was Bubba, but she was separated from him.
Oh, yeah.
And she absolutely lost her mind. So she is freaking out, running, trying to get down to the stage, which there is a way down that I had forgotten about. And so I'm running after her, sweating, grabbing her. Then she like wraps her fingers and arms and hands around. She is so strong around the rails of the balcony. And I'm like prying each finger off. Chapel has started at this point. I thought, yeah, I mean, good. We're in the balcony. The kids are singing. No one can hear us, right? She's screaming. Carried her like kicking and screaming back to the pew that I had all the things, tried to sit her down. She didn't want anything to do with it. She's still freaking out, yelling Bubba like loud over and over again. And again, like me just sweating, trying to like she just keeps grabbing onto those rails. And I was like at my wit's end at this point. And I mean, it felt like a long time. It was in reality probably 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up, and there was a sweet, sweet teacher, 5th grade teacher. She walked up to me and she said, "Let me take her so that you can watch him." And of course I started crying. And, I said, "Thank you. She has special needs and everything." And she said, "I know." She said, let me take her. You can watch him." So she reluctantly went to the teacher, which I think in this instance, it's good that she has no awareness of stranger danger, because she was like, "Oh, a stranger wants to take me somewhere. Cool. Let's go."
Yeah.
And so they stepped out. I was able to watch him. He was able to see me and wave. Even it was so brief, like I caught like the end, I think, of his little performance or whatever. But there was a moment there where I saw my son, I watched him, he knew I was there, and he saw me there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really important.
Yeah.
And then I walked out when it was done, or actually I walked out when it was moving into like the actual chapel. Like, we got past the singing part, because there's no chance she's going to sit through that. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, that teacher was not crying. Mila was crying, but the teacher was not crying. So I'll call that a success. And I just cried. And, she said, anytime he has something like this that you want to come to, email me, let me know. I'm happy to sit with her, figure something out, blah, 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 blah. And I will say they have been really, really, the school in general, just accommodating as far as like helping us if we need it with her, if there is something. But I feel like that story would resonate with a lot of parents of children with special needs, because of Mila's disability, like she doesn't, number one, she lacks, for the most part, lacks impulse control.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really hard for her to like control, especially when she gets fixated on something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to get her attention away from her.
Yeah. Like chicken nuggets or taking a shower. She calls it shower and she's obsessed. I think the water is like a sensory activity in and of itself. There are some days where she takes like 2 because she
loves it.
She loves it and she won't stop.
Mm-hmm. She just lays in it. She has some bath toys and just
and I mean, it's there in our room. Like we're watching her. She's just literally sitting in the water, playing around, and it's pointless. Mm-hmm. But for her, she loves it. But all that to say, she gets hyper fixated on something. Yep. Chicken nuggets are like one of the big ones, and I better not let her listen to this podcast. Seriously, like I'll have to skip this part because if she hears nuggets or shower from the speakers of my car, she's gonna freak out. Yeah. So when she got fixated on Bubba, it was done. I probably shouldn't have even told her, that we were going to see Bubba. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I didn't know, mm-hmm. I should have, but yeah, I didn't know. I think her vision is probably bad enough that she doesn't wear glasses, but she needs to and has an upcoming eye doctor appointment to clarify. I think her vision is probably bad enough to where she may not have been able to tell it was him from that far away.
Yeah, probably not.
So it's possible if I hadn't said anything, she may have just played around, walking up and down the stairs or whatever of the balcony. Funny enough, in case you're wondering if my idea of being in the balcony worked as far as quiet goes, no. Aiden said he heard her yelling Bubba, and obviously it was loud enough because the teacher came up there. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like the teacher saw. The teacher was not on stage. The teacher would have been sitting somewhere in the audience and obviously heard. Yep. So I'm sure it was quite a disruption, although I genuinely was like, the music is loud enough. They can't hear anything. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah. They heard all of it.
That's okay.
Yeah. So all of that to say, Aiden knew I was there before we had that moment. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of parents of children with special needs can relate. It can be hard. Like it's hard to, like, we can't take, there's a lot of things like we can't take her to,
Well, I'll never forget that, if you remember, where we were eating with Christina and Austin. Yeah. And we were in Gardendale. Mm-hmm. And we were Alabama. Down in Alabama at the time, and at Taziki's.
Christina and Austin's my sister and brother-in-law.
Yeah. And we were eating down there, and she was done. Mm-hmm. She was just done and wouldn't stop and wouldn't stop and wouldn't stop and wouldn't stop. So
that stresses you out in public.
It stresses me out in public. It does. And I know there's nothing really that can be done unless you grab her and we have to take her to the car and calm her down. Which is what you had to do. Yeah. And I just hate it because there was another family there that got upset. Like they were mad
they just
that
looked
she kept going
at us.
Well, they made a comment too.
Did they?
Yeah,
what did they say?
I don't remember the comment. It's been too long. But I remember they made, Austin may be able to remind me, but they made a comment, and it was frustrating. I was angry at the time. But I get it. They're trying to sit down and enjoy their food.
No. I'll go on my soapbox after you finish.
I was just saying, like, I understand their perspective is they were trying to eat their food and have it in quiet. I get it. But it's not, again, that didn't happen. So I took her out. We went to the car, and she calmed down just a little bit. But it took a little bit. But that's just an example of, like, when we go to restaurants or even taking her to the store, you don't know what you're going to get. Yeah. You really don't. Mila may be perfect. Like, I've taken her numerous times to the store with me.
I mean, I had to take her to therapy this weekend. She was a perfect angel.
Yeah, and she was great in the store too. Like,
which is like, doesn't happen.
Now, if she sees a balloon, then that's
you better buy it.
Essentially,
yes.
No, like, you get
absolutely.
Well, unless you get something else.
There's nothing more enticing than a balloon to her.
Well, yeah, candy is.
You think?
I did it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Success.
Yeah.
Well, that could also depend on the day, though.
Yeah. But I mean, for the most part, like, you just never know what you're going to get, essentially, is all I'm trying to say with that. And it's hard. It is hard to take her places. It's hard to just scoop her up and go because, I probably do. I probably care too much about what other people think. And that's my own issue. I got to work through that. But
well, two things come to mind. First, I understand there is a respect for other people.
Mm-hmm.
However, the world, and I talked about this in another podcast where I talked about the world expecting Mila to accommodate to them, and the world is not willing to accommodate to children like Mila. And that has to change.
Mm-hmm.
That has to change, because I could be naive here, but I assume if someone's in a wheelchair and it's taking up a little more room than normal, most people probably are nice about it. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are some really nasty people that get mad.
Mm-hmm.
But for a child with a disability like Mila's that is essentially invisible, there's just a lack of, I don't know if it's awareness or
Probably. I think that's part of
or
it.
empathy or both.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think too, though, that maybe not so much then at that age, but now at 5, you have no excuse. You can tell when she starts talking that there's a problem because she's so delayed.
Mm-hmm.
She is a 5-year-old that doesn't speak like a 5-year-old. She's like a 2-year-old on speech, right? And so that's obvious. But I think that there has to be some change, and like I said in that podcast, like, it's going to take parents like us shouting from the rooftops, advocating for our children to somehow be accommodated in some way. Now, what that looks like, I don't know. Does that mean that restaurants start supplying sensory toys or something like that, kind of like they would a wheelchair ramp or grab bars in a restroom? I have no idea. You could brainstorm forever. And maybe there's restaurants that are doing this, who knows? I mean, there probably are a few that are ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I think there's like airports and stuff that have like sensory rooms and stuff. So, I mean, we're making some strides, but there's a long way to go. And children like Mila, and if you are a parent of a disabled child or a parent of a child with an intellectual disability or special needs or autism or whatever, you probably get it. They're just not understood.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people are not interested in understanding them.
Yeah.
I really do. I think most people don't care. And it's really, really sad.
Mm-hmm. They probably don't. I mean,
care.
Because they don't see it enough to care.
Well, I'll change their mind.
That's just my opinion.
Somehow or another.
I don't know.
Maybe it's through this podcast.
I don't know.
But I am determined to somehow do some advocacy here. What that looks like, I have no idea. I just know that it is a goal of mine. To maybe even partner with other like-minded podcasts or parents or whatever. Maybe we go to the legislative level. I don't know. Like, the sky's the limit in the brainstorming thing, but it starts with parents advocating. I think part of the problem there is that we're all so tired that when do we have time to do that kind of stuff?
Yep.
We don't, not really.
Mm-mm.
So we have to kind of carve it out. And, I mean, like we talked about in the last podcast, carving out time for this podcast. Like, there's choices that we make with our time and what that looks like. And yeah, I mean, when some stuff falls off my plate, maybe I'll have time, maybe I won't. I don't know.
No.
We'll see. So let's move into what we're struggling with right now.
Okay.
And I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is that story I told about my son's a perfect segue into my struggles right now to prioritize our older children as well. Again, parents with multiple kids, one who's disabled, will understand this, I'm sure, but I feel like I know the older children need as much attention in different ways, or maybe not as much attention, but they have needs.
Different needs.
Yeah, different needs.
Mm-hmm.
And as a mom, I am failing in that way 100%. I'm aware of it and I'm taking steps to fix it. But it's really, really, really hard because for me specifically, when I pick the older kids up from school, by that point, like I'm tired, I'm
Mm-hmm.
exhausted. Now, that is compounded by the fact that I have narcolepsy. That is compounded by the fact that I have some mental health stuff I'm working through. So, there's a very real, like, there's a lot going into that to make me more tired and more, to put it frankly, I get overstimulated. And so by the time I pick the kids up from school, like I just want to check out and be done,
Yeah.
And honestly, like by the end of the day, around 4 o'clock or whatever, when we get home, like I am just done,
Yep.
And I don't do a whole lot after that point in the day
Mm-hmm.
because I'm exhausted
Yeah.
or overstimulated or anxious or all of the above. But I cannot let that affect the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I have. And I haven't spent quality time with them. I haven't spent one-on-one time with them. Now, I've never been great at that in the first place for the most part, but it is essential because we have a daughter who's 15, almost 16 years old, and we're on borrowed time
Mm-hmm.
with her. We are running out of time. And I have to invest time and love because she is very loved. And I never want the kids to feel like Mila is more loved or Mila, is more important because she's not.
Yeah.
She just requires a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's what I'm struggling with right now. And, I am trying and like I said, making steps to fix it. It's going to be slow and hard. And, again, not because of anything to do with them, my own personal struggles,
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Well, I mean, I'll just tag team that and then I'll go into mine, but we got to remember about our marriage too, like keeping that
Yeah, for sure.
at the forefront as well.
Mhm.
Because yes, the kids are extremely important, but it's always good to remember us too. And
Yeah,
that's
but
all
I
for
was
that.
talking to my therapist this past time, and she asked specifically about the older kids and then the marriage. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the quality time as far as our marriage goes is much better than the
Mm-hmm.
quality time with the older kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now some of that, I think this podcast has been very helpful because it forces us to just sit down and talk.
Right.
But also, we have intentional stuff that we've built into like our routine that we do.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like watching shows together or whatever. So those, like, I think for the older kids, it's going to be creating habits.
Yep. That's right.
And and I don't know. It's just, excuse me, it's very hard, and it's just, yeah, I'm failing at it right now.
It's okay.
But I think awareness and admitting it and being determined to change it is, I guess, the first step.
100%.
And my therapist holding me accountable, which I asked her to.
That's good.
So
That's
anyway,
really good.
and your current struggle?
Yeah, best way to write it down is I'm realizing I like system and structure, and kids are allergic to systems and structure.
What do you mean?
So I'm learning I can either be right or be at peace. And what I mean by that is, like, I love things to be structured the same way, like I expect certain things to happen.
Mhm.
Kids are not going to do it.
Well, they need it though.
They need it, but they're not going to do it. And it's almost like what I mean by it's either I can be right about the structure or I can just sometimes be like, okay, it's not worth fighting today.
Is that something you've learned or something you're struggling with?
It's something I'm struggling with.
Okay.
That's something I'm struggling with right now because with everything going on, like,
Yeah,
you
there's
know,
not much structure.
well, I'll try to put it in place because I know it's needed just to try to help. And it's like, it's like trying to you have structure, at least from my perspective, in a daily basis at work, and then you get home and then you've got that structure. And then it's like you want the kids to be on their structure too, so they feel somewhat without chaos, but it's like sometimes they fight that. They fight it, and I'm struggling when they fight it because, I just want it to look, you know what you're supposed to do, just do it, right? We've got this in place. Just do it.
I think that's because we haven't been consistent.
Well, and that's where I'm struggling because being consistent, like I was mentioning there, is having to fight it. And there's sometimes, especially like after this week, like this week mentally was hard. It was a lot. And so it's like, the last thing you want to do is fight them.
Yeah.
on trying to keep that structure. And
Right.
I'm just like, my goodness, I just need a break. Like today, I just don't have it in me.
Yeah.
But that's the struggle every day, and everybody else does the same thing with that too. I know everybody struggles with that.
Well, and I think one thing that was revealed in a meeting that we had recently was I need your help in that way because I'm soft. You know,
Yeah.
I am. Like I'm
Yeah.
soft, and I know my older kids would laugh if they heard me say that, but that is the reality of it. I might be impatient and I might raise my voice far too often, but I'm also soft.
Yep.
And it is hard for me when a child, doesn't matter which one, wakes up, says they don't feel well, cries about it, isn't necessarily sick. That's hard. I have a hard time with that. You had to interrupt the last, like, whatever it was. I don't think it was this week. It was last week.
Yeah.
And say, no, you're going to school. And I'm glad you did, because that needed to happen. Because otherwise I was going to say, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but I feel like I can go too far with that too. I can sometimes
yeah.
run the house like a army
Like the guy
general or something.
in Sound of Music.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
Although
I
our
just,
kids aren't as well
like,
behaved as those.
I could definitely run it like a general. Like, look,
You can get, I think with your stroke, sorry to cut you off. With your stroke, I think you get really impatient.
I do.
And
100%. I get impatient when things are
bleeds into kind of how you run it sometimes.
It is. And I will just, the more and more I've thought about it and talked about it, it's like when you're teaching the kid, like, I know this may sound absolutely stupid, but loading a dishwasher, like this dishwasher we have here, I know how to load it. I know how to do it well.
So do they.
Every time I do it, the dishes get clean and it's done. Well, my kids won't rinse the dishes off, right? They leave food on them. They'll put them in there. They may load it right, but they're not going to get clean because
Cascade would argue that they would if we used
I will fight Cascade all day long. What I'm saying is, my point is that I have a way of doing things. I have a structure that I know works, so I go back to it and I do it. And I try to teach the kids that structure, so it makes it easier for them. That way, when they go off, because they're not going to be here forever, they're going to be out of here. And
they're not going to care till they're paying for it.
Well, maybe not. And that's what I try to ingrain in them. This is going to help you later, but they don't like it. And so I know that may have been the absolute stupidest example, but
no, I don't think so.
It's just, I can run the house like that. Like I can literally sit here and say, okay, you're supposed to do the dishes, unload them like you're supposed to, where they go, put them up like they're supposed to be put up, and then start the thing and do it and actually do it right. And then I
think that's a great thing to teach the kids, regardless of whether it's dishes or something else. Do it right the first time so you don't have to go back and do it again.
Right, but 50% of the time it's not. So then
I would go with 99.
Then I'm getting frustrated and then I'm getting irritated about it because they're not doing it. And it's like, it's like I tell them 5 or 6 times in a row. It's like, maybe it's the way I'm telling them. Maybe
I think that it is laziness on their part. They've been allowed to get away with it because we have been inconsistent. Maybe. Therefore, there needs to be a conversation about consequence.
Maybe so.
They are 11 and 15, almost 16 years old. If they don't load a dishwasher in a way, and when we say, like, keep in mind, like, we are not being sergeants here. Like, they are just kind of like literally just kind of throwing stuff in there. They're not even really like putting it in between the tongs of the dishwasher itself.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like, it's dirty. They don't rinse it. And then they just kind of like lay it in there. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then they'll stack like multiple things on top of each other that are never going to get clean. Or they won't even get all the silverware out of the sink, which, if there's one thing that you can always fit in the dishwasher, it's all of the silverware. Mm-hmm. Even if it is every silverware that you own in your home, you can fit it. And so they won't do that. And then, or they'll just like shove something like literally like just in, like it won't even be like, I don't want to say filed away, but like kind of, and then like the arm can't spin or whatever. So we're not sergeants. This is them just literally basically throwing stuff in there, not caring at all, being very capable of doing it in a better way. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your way. It just needs to be a way that shows effort and respect and care.
All I want is that.
And they don't do that. And I think at 11 and 15, almost 16 years old, there should be consequences for that.
Maybe so. I don't know. I just know that,
It's
like,
a waste of a dishwasher pod.
well, I'm just saying that, like,
They're
it's,
expensive.
I've done it the wrong way, and I have seen what's happened because of it. Food is left in there. It doesn't get clean. Therefore, when it's done, just like you said, it wastes a pot. It does other stuff. Like, we're trying to create efficiency right now and not more chaos. So think
Mhm.
about that. It's like, you do it wrong the first time, it's going to create more chaos later,
Mhm.
because then you got to go back and do it right, like you were
Mhm.
supposed to do a long time ago. And then you keep doing it wrong over and over and over again. Well, then you keep piling up dishes
I
that
just
are
thought of a
dirty.
great consequence.
Okay.
Make when they do it and it is done wrong and the dishes aren't clean,
Mhm.
make them hand wash that whole load.
Well, fair enough. Maybe that's
That'd
what we
be a
do.
great consequence.
Maybe that's what we do.
I can think of one of your children that would think he or she was being,
Yeah. Yeah.
mistreated,
Mhm.
to say the least.
Yeah.
That would be, honestly, I think that would instill it in them. If they had to
Maybe.
hand wash an entire load of dishes
Yep.
and dry it and put it away,
Yeah.
that would probably fix that problem right there.
Maybe.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
You want to do it?
Sure.
All
Let's
right.
do it. Sounds good.
Kids, I know you'll be listening to this in the car on the way to school. Get ready.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
Or don't mess up. You ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll end here with something that we have learned. So we're each going to kind of share, whatever. And you are up first. And by the way, all of our categories are not always going to be the same. This is just kind of how we structured this one.
Yeah. This is it's kind of related to some of the stuff we talked about, but it's basically, I guess this is the best way to put it. I've learned that chaos doesn't create who you are. It just exposes who you already are. And that's uncomfortable, but it's also how you grow.
Did you just read that from ChatGPT?
I did help it get my thoughts together.
Yeah.
I had the thought, but
No,
I made it.
100%,
I
yeah.
made it put it out there where it was really nice and pretty.
And as long as it agreed, I told mine to give me some ideas. I had actually only one of mine caused me to think of, and then I was like, oh, 100% that's true. That was the whole point. Like, that's true. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, it's okay.
So could you clarify exactly what you mean by that?
I mean, just when chaos happens, like,
Define chaos in this scenario.
anything. It could be
Our whole life.
when the kids don't get ready to go to school on time, when they're not down there in a certain time, or when, the dogs get into the trash, like,
Or Nala poops on the floor because she's old.
right. I mean,
Old Great Dane.
those type of things like that really pushes to the surface, like, who you are. And, it's like, for me, I know I need to grow in that area. And so that's what I've learned in all this, because we've had a lot of chaos recently, for sure.
What do you think it's revealed about you from your perspective?
That I need to work on myself.
No, I mean, like, how do you typically, what's your go-to response to chaos? I know it. I'm just asking what you say.
Frustration.
Yeah.
Frustration, for sure.
Anger.
And anger sometimes, depending on what it is. Like, it's an example is the dog gets into the trash multiple times a week. It drives me nuts. Like, okay, let's put something on top of the trash can, or move the trash can somewhere they can't get to.
You put it in the bathroom.
Well, can they get in there? No. Again, my thing is that stuff over and over and over again, that's chaos.
Yeah.
And I don't react well to that. I just don't. That's the truth. So that's something that I've been talking to my therapist about, just talking about that kind of stuff. Man, how to best deal with chaos, because I haven't done well with it. And
it's a universal problem.
Well, it is for some people handle it better than others. Like, they just do. And
some people thrive in it, probably.
They may like chaos. They may love crap. They may love creating it. I don't know.
Oh, there are for sure
Like,
people that love creating it.
Yeah, they may get
online.
They may get bored without having it, so they love creating it.
Most likely.
I don't. Like, I just, for me, I love structure. I love just, let's just calm down. But
as you can hear the kid out there screaming in a chaotic way.
Well, they may not be able
I bet they heard it.
But I mean, my point is that that's what I've learned, is that I don't do well in that, and I'm gonna try to work on it, because it's definitely something that I've noticed, and it's just not who I want to be. It's not who the kids want me to be, or you. It's.
I think, honestly, as silly as this may sound, once Hot Mess Express comes in here and gets some order to the home, I think that's going to really help us to create that system and structure that we need,
Yeah, we just got to keep it up. That's the biggest thing.
And we will, because there's going to be some organization that is also put into place,
Yeah.
And then we will follow that up by making like a chore list or whatever we need to do to make sure that gets done.
Yeah. But that was mine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, mine is on a completely different note. And I'm just gonna read it because I'm tired and whatever. I learned specifically this week that I can take melatonin at 8 p.m., put my eye mask on, and clock out, and I'm off duty, and no one can legally stop me.
That's random. I'm so confused. What does that mean?
Do you not remember I did that this week?
Yeah, you took melatonin, went to bed, but what are you saying, like, legally stop you? I
Oh, it
don't
was a
really
joke. Like
understand.
the
Oh,
legally part is a joke. Babe, it was deadpan humor. So you gotta keep up.
sorry. My
Okay, no one
humor's
can
different.
stop me. How about that?
Okay. Well, yeah, my humor's different, so I was
Okay.
not
Okay, let me
following.
rephrase. I learned I can take melatonin, put my eye mask on, decide I'm going to bed, and no one can stop me. Melatonin is my boundary. It's been swallowed. Good night.
Okay.
Handle the kids.
Okay.
And it was empowering.
That's nice.
Well, y'all, meaning men, like to do your boundary, which is called the bathroom.
What about it?
I know it ain't taking 45 minutes in there. You're just scrolling your phone.
I don't stay in there 45 minutes. That's not true. Some may.
If you are working,
but I get it though.
Like if it's during
peaceful.
work hours, no. If it is a Saturday morning, 100%.
I don't think so.
Yes, you do.
No.
25.
It's quiet in there.
I know. And it's a universal problem among men. I'm convinced of that. And
that's because when we walk out, there's always something that happens. So that's why we stay in there.
That's fine. So that's your boundary. Your boundary is no one wants to go in there when you're doing that. That's nasty. My point is
perfect.
My point is men escape. Like, I'm just going to generalize here. Okay. Maybe there are some that don't.
Okay.
But a lot of the ones I know escape whenever they want to. Leave their wives to, get the kids to bed or get whatever. Like, I don't know, whatever that looks like. Whenever they choose to escape. And the wife is, primarily responsible for the rest. And so I decided this week I was going to do that.
Okay.
And so you just had to do whatever. And I was like, good night. I'll see you in the morning.
I didn't do whatever. I got the kids and stuff ready to go.
And it was wonderfully empowering.
Okay.
And I'm going to do it every single night.
I'd be careful having to do that every night.
I'm not going to do it every night because I do need my own alone time. But that particular day was when we kind of had a pretty gnarly disagreement because I kind of threw a little bit of a temper tantrum and I was just in a bad mood that day and I was tired and I just kind of reached my limit for, the day, week, whatever. And I was like, I'm done. 8 p.m. rolls around, I'm out. I'm done. I didn't even take time for myself. I was like, good night. I'm going to bed. And it was empowering. So if you are a special needs mom and you have a husband who is kind enough to let you do that without too much griping, goodness gracious, do it sometimes. I recommend it. It's my piece of advice.
Okay.
And yours would be?
What do you mean? I don't
to the husbands whose wives do that.
I don't know. Just do it, I guess. You ain't got much of a choice.
Because the wife is asleep.
Yeah, I mean, what other choice
That's
you got?
That's the point. It's a boundary.
Yeah, you don't have any other choice.
Yeah, no, you don't. I know. It's the best. It's a perfect boundary. I'm asleep.
You just do it.
You can't wake me up.
I mean, I could try.
It wouldn't go well.
I can make it irritating.
It wouldn't go well. You know how I am if I'm woken up.
Yeah, I'm aware. Trust me.
It's product of narcolepsy, but I'm not super nice. So, yeah. But recommend it.
Okay.
You got anything else? This may be a shorter episode.
No. I think it'll end up being just as long as the other ones, honestly.
You think so? We'll find out. Eventually, we'll have a timer in here where we can look and see.
Goodness me.
So, socials are going to be down below. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Don't click out. There's also the checklist I created. I explained it in the last video. I'm going to also have it in the description below, but it is simply just a document that helps you get help or help someone. And follow us. If you have not left a written review on Apple, please do that. That is huge. Please subscribe to this channel. Comment. Tell us your agree to disagree. Or actually, no, better. Let us know in the comments. One, is Bluey for adults?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah. We want to know, is Bluey for adults? And also, is what I do in the left lane acceptable?
No.
Okay, well, we'll let the people decide.
Okay.
All right. We'll see y'all next time.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.